Good evening, and welcome to a social distancing or quarantining version of our March 23rd Malt Night, brought to you directly from our tiny but very well lit kitchen at 165 Ontario Street, Kingston, Ontario. I thought it might be kind of fun to go ahead with a nosing, although we've had to cancel our regular March 23rd meeting due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I trust that as you enjoy this show, you're all safe and snug at home. If you haven't already got a dram on hand, you might consider pausing this presentation and make yourself truly comfortable with a wee bit of the malt. In taking this opportunity, I didn't want to sample the whiskeys we were supposed to be having this evening. Those whiskeys will eventually show up at some point in time. It's also the case that our nosers spent a good bit of time preparing for the evening, and I certainly didn't want to preempt their work. What I have done is worked my way to the back of my own cupboard to look for something that I thought you might find interesting. I have a few older and some unusual bottles back there, but I thought I'd go ahead and share this bottle of Longrow with you. It's from the Springbank Distillery in Campbellton. I've been waiting for the right moment to open this and have a wee sip, and this seems like the perfect opportunity. This is the straight peated version of Longrow. There's no age statement, so we have no idea what the youngest whiskey is in the bottle. You may recognize this malt as having the previous name of Longrow CV Heavily Peated. I'll get to the specifics in a wee bit, but I wanted to tell you something about why I think the Springbank Distillery is so interesting. The distillery has been in the hands of the same family, the Mitchell family, since 1828. It was built on the site of Archibald Mitchell's illicit still. Springbank continues to use only traditional methods and is the only distillery in Scotland that keeps 100% of the process in-house. The barley is malted in the traditional manner on the malting floor. The kiln can be peat fired or hot air fired. The mill is a Porteous mill from 1940. The mash tun is made of cast iron and is at least 100 years old. The 6 washbacks are made of European boat larch, while the 3 copper stills are fired by live flame, and that's quite unusual these days. And finally, all of the casking, storage, and bottling is done on site, 100% of the process. And that's quite interesting. But what is more interesting and intriguing to me is the fact that this distillery, with those traditional methods, using the same barley, the same water, the same equipment, produces 3 distinct malts. Their standard is called Springbank, and it comes in 10, 12, 15, 18, and 21-year-old age statements. In 1970, they released a 50-year-old. That had been distilled in 1919. In 1973, in the spirit of experimentation, the distillery attempted to produce an Islay-like peated malt. The result is what you see before us, the Longrow. It now comes in 4 expressions. This is the no age statement. There's also a Longrow 18-year-old. There's the Longrow Red, which has been casked in port barrels. And they've just recently announced a Longrow Red 13-year-old. In 1997, the distillery tried another experiment, and this resulted in the Hazelburn. It comes in 2 expressions, 10-year-old and sherry wood casked. So how do they do that? How do they make 3 different whiskeys from the same traditional distilling process? Well, it's simply a matter of varying the drying of the malted barley and the way in which the wort is distilled. The House Springbank is a more traditional, lightly peated malt, and they dry the malted barley in the kiln using partially peat and partially hot air. The wort is then distilled in the copper stills 2.5 times. The Hazelburn uses malted barley that's been air dried, no kiln involved. And then they triple distill the wort in the copper stills. The Longrow, the one we're going to try tonight, is a more heavily peated version, and it's kiln dried with peat only. And then it's distilled 2.5 times. Well, that has made me a bit thirsty, so I think it's time to get down to business with the malt itself. Now, you will notice that there is not a full bottle of malt here. This exercise has required a few attempts to make the show work. And of course, every time I've done a dress rehearsal, I've had to sample some of the malt. It's been a trying thing, that. The first thing we notice about this is that the color is a bit pale, straw colored. Springbank puts no coloring in any of its whiskeys. Hence, this is the natural color. On the nose, definitely peat. Very smooth though. It's sweet. A bit of vanilla maybe in there. Definitely smooth, definitely peaty. Very peaty, but again, smooth. A bit of fruit, a bit of sweetness there. It's not caramel. A bit fruity, maybe a bit of vanilla in there. We should try that again. Very nice. This is 46% alcohol by volume. So I don't think water is going to hurt this too much. I'm going to put a teaspoonful in and see what happens. I've had a lot of practice doing this over the last couple of days. Hopefully I'll get it right. Now, we notice that the malt's gone a bit cloudy. That's because it's non-chill filtered. Chill filtering is a technique that is intended to remove the congeners from the whiskey. Some people like to see the whiskey clear. The congeners, on the other hand, do 2 things that are important, or one of them is important anyway. They improve the taste and the flavors. Congeners are also noted for being responsible for that after-drink experience known as a hangover. So let's try this again on the nose. That's smoothed it out quite a bit. Still a good bit of peat there, but now there's a little more of the vanilla coming in, and definitely some fruit on the nose. Yes, that is a much smoother drink. Very nice. Still very peaty, very long finish. Despite the water, it's retained the finish. It had a good finish to begin with. It's retained that finish. That smoke is hanging around quite a bit. It's very nice. I hope you're enjoying this. I know I am. I'm a big fan of the Islay malts, and I would say that this can stand with the best of them. It's not quite as heavy as the Ardbegs or Lafroigs, but it's certainly peatier than things like Colila. But definitely a peaty malt. And the brief experience with water suggested that you might even try another teaspoonful. I may do that when this is over. This malt is available at the LCBO for $98.10. That's Canadian, of course. And that's in line with some of the other popular Isla malts, so it's not out of line. If I'm not mistaken, I think our club has actually had the Springbank, the Hazelburn, and the Longrow over a different period of time. It would be nice if we could put all three of them together and have a Springbank in-house flight. That would be quite interesting. Now that just about wraps it up for me. I hope you enjoyed the show, and that during these trying times you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones. With any luck, we'll see you in June, July, August, September, whenever this is over. Sláinte mhath.